Quick look at the national forecast. Let's take a look at your weather.
One day of very mild weather left today. South winds bringing temperatures 78 to 82 across the western half of the state. In the east, 75 to 80 today. Here in central Iowa, we'll top out around a temperature of 80 degrees, winds 15 to 25 miles an hour.
The wake-up call coming up next. Harry?
Thanks, Mark. It's going to be a long time before the scars heal in Killeen, Texas. In a few minutes on a Wednesday afternoon, Killeen changed, possibly forever. Now comes the question that might never be answered. Why a man would kill more than 20 people, then turn the gun on himself? Joining us now from outside Luby's cafeteria, where the tragedy happened, are Captain Roy Stover of the Killeen Police Department and Vicki Moose, who heads the American Red Cross Unit in Killeen. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning, Harry.
Captain, let me start with you. Do we have any idea this morning about motive in this?
No, Harry, we don't. This investigation, of course, has continued throughout the night. We've been tying up a lot of other ends. We have no motive at this time. This is the big question at this point.
Do you know how many shots were actually fired, or have at least a rough idea?
No, sir, I don't. We don't have an actual count at this time. That information will probably be available later today.
And how many people are wounded now? How many people are still hospitalized?
Last count that we had was 17 people have been treated at the Darnell Army Community Hospital, and 8 additional persons have been treated at Metroplex Hospital in Killeen.
Did the gunman have any prior record or any, we know some of the information about some neighbors saying that they thought perhaps he might be mentally unstable, but is there any prior arrest record or any other sort of information you have from his background?
No, sir, that we've been able to obtain. There's no record at this time.
Vicki, this must just be an incredible undertaking to try and garner the resources of this town to help people cope with this tragedy. What's the most important thing that you all are involved in right now?
Right now we're doing counseling for the family members, for the people in the community that are involved, the witnesses. Everybody in a small, close-knit community like this is going to be hit in some way, whether it's a school teacher, a church member, or, you know, a family member. And so what we're trying to do now is to do training with some counselors in the trauma and the crisis intervention so that we can go ahead and use the people in the community to help each other for a long period, because it's going to be a long recovery period. Have
you tried to bring in resources from out of town or anything? Because certainly beyond the direct victims, there must have been dozens and dozens and dozens of people who witnessed this.
Absolutely. We have some Red Cross crisis intervention nurses here that are trained in this sort of thing. The governor has sent in a trauma team to work with us, and she's training some of our local people. So, you know, they're working with the counselors so that they'll be here and be able to take care of this on the long-term type of follow-up.
What is the one thing you hear from people most who saw what happened yesterday?
We're still seeing people, you know, in a state of disbelief. You know, how could this happen? This type of thing. And, you know, this is one thing that the Red Cross does. We have people prepared to respond to situations, whether it's this or, you know, the earthquakes, the hurricanes, or whatever. And, you know, our people were ready to move into place to be able to respond. And this is what we're trying to do, and this is what we've done to try to mobilize, to use community resources, to get the neighbors that are helping neighbors, you know, into the situation.
Captain, as awful as this tragedy was, as it turns out, it could have been worse. How was it that police were able to react so quickly?
The information we have at this time is that shortly after the suspect entered the restaurant and began firing, there were 3 officers, one in the Sheridan in the classroom, which was made aware of the situation, and 2 other officers that were passing by on a highway. They entered the restaurant along with DPS officers, and they exchanged rounds after they had been fired upon. They exchanged rounds with the suspect.
Managed to intervene.
Possibly
We're also joined now by Jacquelyn Pleasant, who is an eyewitness to this tragedy yesterday. Jacquelyn, after the truck crashed into the cafeteria, what was the first thing you remember?
When he came through the cafeteria?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was a...
Go ahead.
Well, when he came through the cafeteria, I thought it was a storm or something going on. And so I jumped from one side of the table over to the other one behind Mr. Ray, and I got down underneath the chair. And he jumped out and he fired approximately 8 shots. And he said, this is what Belton made me do. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Then he'd walk up on people at point-blank range and he would shoot.
Did anyone try to stop him during his rampage?
No, they didn't. Everyone laid there and tried to be quiet, hoping that if they didn't say anything or move, that he wouldn't shoot them.
Jacquelyn Pleasant, thank you. Captain Stover, Vicki Moose, thank you all for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Paula?
We're looking at 16 minutes after the hour. Coming up next is gun control an answer to mass killings like the one we witnessed in Texas yesterday. Then stay with us in our next half hour on CBS This Morning for Robert Krulwich on predicting a ball player's salary. Plus, Dr. Bob Arnott on cutting your risk of heart attack. And Steve Kometka will be here with actress and director Jodie Foster. We'll be back.
It's the biggest fall savings event in half-price history. The Half Price Store's 19th anniversary savings sensation. Celebrate